We have a vision to be a sustainable community of international significance at Ginninderry, and I just want to kind of talk about what that actually means. So sustainability means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but for us what that means is that we want to be sustainable over time, ecologically, socially and economically. We want to be responsive to the environment that we're in, and we want to also provide future beneficial change for others. We want to be a new model for others to follow in land development. One of the ways that we have verified our sustainability credentials is through our accreditation with the Green Building Council of Australia, and we've received a Green Star Communities 6-star rating for the project. And that rating looks at a whole heap of things, but governance, design, livability, economic prosperity, the environment of course, and innovation. And we've been awarded that world-leading rating. What that lets us do is really have a framework around what we're trying to achieve at Ginninderry and have a third-party group verify it. What will also happen is that we recertify the project over time. So it's not just what's on paper now on those plans that are out on the boards there, but as we build this community, we will have to show that we are continuing to honour the commitments that we made in that Green Star Communities rating. Steve and David talked about the fact that Ginninderry is a master planned community, and when we talk about sustainability, having a master planned community lets us have a look at different layers of things that a community needs, like health, like active living, like connections to different areas, and lets us have a look at that in a consolidated way. So we can really design public transport networks, we can design the roads, we can design where schools are, how people interact with each other, and the buildings that we build as well in a consolidated way. So it's important to sort of understand that sustainability sits at that master planning level, but it also through the way that we stage our release of land, so we're not building everything at once. It's a 30 to 40 year project, 11,500 dwellings all up, and we release that in a way that we then have the ability to test, learn, and to explore best practice thinking over time. So we won't be able to do everything that we want to do in stage one, but we hope to learn as we go and really build on the approach that we have. As we move down, we really want Ginninderry to be a connected community and a part of and an extension of the rest of Belconnen. So we're not just a gated community that acts on its own over here. Belconnen is the broader area that we're in, so the school connections, amenities are not only outside of that, but we also want to then provide new amenities for the existing Belconnen region as well. And then if we jump down into stage one, which is the bits that we're selling at the moment, we've got quite a lot of features in stage one, and the best example of some of the features that we have here is this wonderful building that we're sitting in at the moment, the Link building. And it becomes a link not only with Strathnan, but also the river corridor and a connection for community as well. So this building's been designed to let the community come. We want to provide spaces that we can hold events. We can have all of the sustainability initiatives that we're having. Emma can do her Spark training and employment initiatives here as well. There's lots of different sustainability features to this building, like our bee hotel out on the deck. If you haven't seen it, have a look. But it's a hotel for native solitary bees, and so that really provides just a bit of a hotel for the bees to then breed and live in and help us pollinate all of our native plants around the building. We're also doing quite a lot to restore our frog habitat. So the pond out here has been used for the last 10 years by Frogwatch, and the Frogwatch guys are up there at the moment. And so we've provided a lot of different areas for frogs in there, and we want to make sure that habitat is not only taken back to what it was, but better maintained as well. You also see around the building, dotted around, there's some signs about some of the different sustainability features within the building. So if you haven't had a look already, have a look out for those signs, and or if there's anything in the building that you want to ask me a question about. But all of the timber is recycled. The concrete's got quite high levels of fly ash and slag. There's lots of different things. We've got double glazed windows that are all openable, so it's about ventilation and flow. And it just feels like it's a nice building here that we have, and it's important that this building showcases all of the features that we want to really ingrain in our new community as well. Throughout the estate developments that we have and our neighbourhoods that we're providing, we want them to be walkable. We want people to be able to move between those spaces, not just with a car in and out. We want to provide places that people want to stay, play, and be in, and really thrive as well. So it's not just about the bricks and mortar. Active travel and healthy living is also quite a key feature that we want to promote here, not only within the Stage 1 development, but also this wonderful conservation corridor as well. So providing tracks and trails through that area for bike riding, for walks, providing shared bike facilities so that people can come and hire things, and then also providing public transport out into the rest of Belconnen. So what would normally happen with public transport for a new development is that action buses would wait until there's enough population here to provide a bus, but what we're doing is providing a shuttle bus for day one, which will then have connections to Kippax Fair, to Kingsford Smith School, and to Drake Brockman Drive, as there's a bus that runs straight down into the city. And it's the reason that we're doing it that way is because when you move house, that's the prime time to really think about the way that you get places, and to not have to change that after, I think is probably a sensible way to do that. Another feature of our estate development is that we are trying to provide productive landscapes. So thinking about the tree species, the shrubs that we plant in all of our urban open spaces, and making them have more of a purpose. So not just to look pretty, but to provide pollination for bees, and ways that we can then bring bird species into those urban neighbourhoods as well. Another feature of those open space tree plantings is that we have a research project with the ANU looking at biota tree research, and that's in the areas, there's quite a lot of them through the Stage 1, areas where we have existing trees that we're keeping. What would normally happen in a new estate is those trees would be kept, they would be just grassed underneath and then mown. What happens then as that tree grows, gets older, dies, there is no tree there anymore. So we've been talking to the ANU about ways that we can better enhance those areas and manage those areas as well. So looking at different things like providing shrub plantings underneath, having new eucalypts that come up underneath, that start to build a second story underneath that tree, so when the old one dies there's a new one already partially grown. To look at even how the limbs fall off a tree and how they are used as hollows by a range of different animals, and to then look at different native planting, native wildflower plantings in there as well. And if you head over to the area beside the main stage there's a whole artwork collection of native wildflowers, and they're the sort of flowers that we kind of want to reintroduce to this area. So looking at different treatments and then letting the ANU research those and see what actually works, and working with our Territory Municipal Services on how they maintain those areas and whether they work. Another part of our landscape is edible gardens. So in a traditional development we would normally put in a community plot style garden. So there's the Canberra Organic Garden Society, COGS, which normally looks after new gardens within developments, and those are sort of you pay your membership money and you get a plot of garden. We're providing one of those, but we're also then looking at different areas which provide communal garden space. So looking at areas that are open to the public where the community can then start to plant things like herbs, or we provide a community orchard, and then looking at how you can introduce edible gardens into your own landscaping. And when we start talking about what happens with new blocks and new developments, we have an incredible conservation corridor that we are abutting, and for us the landscaping and the plants that you provide as part of that, as part of your new blocks, will affect what happens in that conservation corridor. And it's very important to understand that weeds will travel, that the birds will take those seeds. And so for us, it's important to not only tell people what we're trying to do here and make them understand that the species that you have in your garden won't just affect your neighbourhood, but it'll affect this whole ecosystem that we have. So we have an incredible vision for sustainability from that master plan, from the stage 1, and now down to what we're aiming to get out of the housing. We have housing development requirements for all of the houses within Ginninderry, and they are mandated items, which include mandated solar panels, inverters, demand management systems, have requirements on hot water systems, heating and cooling systems, the fittings that you use, rainwater tanks and dog and cat containment. So if you haven't already had a look at the design guidelines, please check them out and have a look at what they all mean. But basically these design requirements have not only the minimum requirements that you need to do, but also some design tips about how you can raise the bar again on sustainability. And there's also then a smart living booklet as well, which gives you basically the tools and the questions to ask not only your builders, your designers, but also yourself about the way that you design your home and how you live in it. So you can have this wonderful house if you don't open the windows to let the sun in, or if you don't use your systems efficiently. You can waste a lot of money doing that. So this book talks about not only building the shell of your house, the inside of your house, and then the landscapes that you produce, and gives you quite a lot of information in there on that. And so ultimately, this is what we want to try and protect, to enhance, to manage and restore. The gentleman just asked about water reuse and what we're doing in terms of water. So we have requirements for rainwater tanks for the majority of the blocks, and that water can then be used for toilets, for your laundry, and for irrigation. We're also looking at irrigating our open space with recycled stormwater as well. So the wetlands that we have dotted throughout the development will help to catch water, ensure the quality of that water is good, and then we can use that as irrigation as well. The housing design requirements have a mandated energy system as part of that, and I thought today we should probably talk about why we're doing what we're doing, and in particular why we're not installing gas or intending to install gas in our stage 1 houses. For me, energy systems are an interesting one, and we have 3 main aims for energy, what I kind of want to get out of Ginninderry. One is I want to reduce the ongoing energy costs for our residents. I want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and I want to reduce the peak electricity demand on the energy grid that we have. And with such a large development that we have, and a greenfield development, it's really the right time to think about those energy systems and what we're doing in terms of energy for our households. What we've been looking at is a smarter energy grid, and for me that means our ultimate solution is embedded within the existing Actu grid, so not going off grid, but thinking about ourselves as a single defined connection with the existing electricity grid, looking at predominantly solar power generation and using all of our houses that we've got, all of our commercial buildings, even this building has got a 30 kilowatt solar system on it, and thinking about solar generation in that more distributed way. So instead of just building a solar farm, which takes up land that can be used for other things, is going, well, we've got 11,500 dwellings that we're building. What can we do in terms of utilising that roof space that we have for solar PV? And then looking at how battery storage can work within this development as well. So Tesla's doing a pretty good job of marketing their household battery systems, but also there's centralised battery storage which we can do, and that can be quite an efficient and more cost-effective way of providing battery storage too. And looking at then how we can control that full energy system. Looking at demand management systems within each of the houses, which then, if you have, say, excess solar that you're not using on your roof, you can then gift that to your community centre, or that it can then provide the power for your neighbour. So looking at it in not just a single house, but looking at it from a community base is really important, and we have the ability to do that out here. What does that mean for stage 1? So we will still be connected to the electricity grid. We have mandated solar panels on all of the houses and a demand management system. That demand management system not only lets us monitor the energy that you're using, but you can also then connect it to appliances that you have. So it can tell your hot water system to prioritise when it heats up your hot water by when the sun is actually shining. And so instead of you generating the electricity, putting it out to the grid and then bringing it back in again for some of your appliance use, you can do that in a consolidated way. We also incentivise energy efficient appliances, so there's some requirements around star ratings for your heating and cooling systems, for example. And then future proofing for battery storage and for electric vehicles as well, and providing a fully electric energy solution. So really making use of the systems that we're putting in and doing that in a fully electric solution. So what would normally happen in a typical new Canberra house, and think of new housing as well with an energy efficiency rating of 6, so they're at a higher standard, I guess, than typical old Canberra. What would normally be put in by a builder is a system that looks something like this. So you would have ducted gas heating, you would have gas hot water, maybe a gas cooktop in there as well, and then you'd also need some sort of cooling potentially there. And that kind of system would be about $15,000, but it'd cost you nearly $2,500 every year to run that system. What we're requiring for Ginninderry, with the solar panels, demand management system, heat pump hot water system, and then reverse cycle air conditioning, it's about $21,000 up front for that system, so about $6,000 more, but it'll only cost you just under $1,000 a year to run. And when you look at that on a graph, you break even on those systems in about 3 years, which isn't too bad. When we look at those running costs as well, and dividing that up into the gas versus electricity, a significant portion of a house's energy use, if you're using it particularly for heating is on gas. And so we're saying if you take out the gas component, you have a demand management system that helps you reduce the amount of electricity that you're using, you can make some significant savings. And in terms of the actual emissions that you are producing on that system as well, we can reduce those down to 0. To do that, it might all sound a bit confusing, but we have negotiated a home energy package for Ginninderry with 3 suppliers, so Actu-AGL, ITP Home Energy and Solar Hub, which can provide that full system for you. So it's a supply, design and install of that system. And you can then talk to them also about battery storage and heat pump hot water systems, as well as the mandatory stuff as well. So those home energy package fact sheets are out on the table, all online as well. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get those systems at a good price as well. So we've negotiated quite hard for those prices too. Does this mean no gas for the whole of Ginninderry? Well, not necessarily. What we're going to do is put a trunk gas main up through the main boulevard of Ginninderry, and that's really about providing a fallback position for future stages and for the commercial sector in schools. So typically gas is used still for commercial buildings, but when we don't get to the commercial centre for another 10 years, and so this is a rapidly changing kind of area as well. So looking at those systems as we get to them, but making sure we don't, that we future-proof for that to happen over time. And if any of that doesn't convince you, you can always go for a gas bottle. And if you are doing gas bottles, it's actually cheaper than mains to do that anyway because of the supply charges